What's some of the stuff that comes to mind, or questions you have, or how on earth do you set boundaries? What do you think of? What challenges boundaries?
How to say no.
How to say no?
How to state your boundary without sounding like a bitch.
A good one. Yeah? Yes?
How to be consistent with your boundaries.
Ah, yes. I have set a boundary firmly until Tuesday.
Keep asking me. I'll probably change my mind.
I have firmly set a boundary, except he's cute. Yeah, I shall stick with the boundary until my mother calls. Other thoughts on boundaries? What gets in your way?
The pressure.
Hmm? Pressure from
Family or peers or
just people pushing boundaries.
yeah.
Yeah.
How to establish new boundaries. Introduce a new idea.
Introduce a new boundary into a previous relationship.
Yeah.
Or an old pattern. That's a fun one. New boundaries into old patterns.
I'm not even aware I'm allowed boundaries.
I'll get there.
Calculars. Boundaries? What? I thought that's where I'm supposed to stop sleeping. I mean, first of all, you have to know what your boundaries actually are. And for a lot of us, it's like, you're supposed to have boundaries.
Steve's good enough, right?
Pretty sure I'm not. And then once you figure out your boundaries, then to avoid the pendulum swing of, say, push over to, as you said, maybe not so friendly. And then to get back into the middle of actually communicating in a way that's open-hearted and loving with the people that you actually care about, which is the reason they're in your life, right? So we're going to talk about that.
Now I'll start to talk.
Go.
Okay. When I thought of boundaries, the first thing I thought of was, does anybody remember the cartoons of the moose and the squirrel?
Yeah.
Rocky or
And
something?
bowling. Rocky and bowling.
Oh yeah, and then they had the guy, the Mountie, and he was always talking about boundaries. I remember that as a kid.
Yeah.
He said the word boundaries a lot. Then I thought about, why was that word? And that was separating provinces, or whatever they separate. And then I thought about the world and how everybody has boundaries between a country, and how funny it is because you can't see the boundary. And then all of a sudden there's this sign, welcome to Tingogo, something anywhere you are. You're like, over, wow. I was on a dirt road and I went over the boundary. And then I thought about the psychological aspect of boundaries, which is, this is my space, and I picture somebody drawing with chalk their line around their space. Usually, when people set boundaries for themselves, interestingly, when people are expanding themselves, they put a circle. When they're boundary setting, it's a square. Very interesting, that. You ever think about that? It's really weird.
That's totally true.
Yeah, it is. So the circle means, I'll bounce along and it's okay, but if you're... So we associate boundary settings with defense. That's the problem right off the start. Boundaries aren't about defense. They're about compromise, healthy compromise. So that's where it starts, right there, when people understand healthy compromise. I'm glad there's no children here today. Because I slip and I swear sometimes. So I just noticed that because I almost swore. I'm learning. I'm refining slowly. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think of all the things that I said with boundaries, and when I used to hear the word boundaries, I always thought that I was crossing one. Because that, everyone told me as I was growing up, of course, you don't respect boundaries. And I heard that as, you're so adventuresome and awesome. That's how I always heard it.
You would.
I couldn't hear it as anything else. I mean, now I realize I was a jackass and very rude and non-respectful in many ways and adventuresome. Do I regret it? No. Did I have any idea of a boundary before the age of 33? None whatsoever. I was overconfident. I was overzealous. I was arrogant. Maybe still am, who knows. I just know that I sure understand boundaries now. And I do recognize that it is key and essential in totally understanding boundaries is not defensive, not offensive, but present at all times. And the only way you can have boundaries that are present is being able to be objective and changing at all times. People don't understand that your boundaries aren't set in stone. They have to grow with you. They have to change with you. They have to flow with you. When it's interesting, if you're a ripple effect, you come out in vibrations and then it dies down slowly. And then the new ripple creates a whole new wall around it. I look at boundaries as a ripple. And I look at my boundaries now as circular, not square. Because my boundaries are when you throw me into a pond with everybody else, the community. I don't think of it as a cued reaction. I think of it as a circular embracing of understanding others around me, which is what we do at Time to Heal. We try and ripple our understanding of people. I didn't rehearse my speeches, I never do. So I'm sitting in total awe of that metaphor. Hey, am I patting myself on the back enough? Regina, you look extremely happy. How's your foot?
It's much better.
Now, boundary setting, why did I bring you into this? Let's see. Yeah. You'll set a boundary with how I work on your foot. You'll set a very stern boundary, almost militant. But you won't set a boundary with people taking advantage of you in your workplace. Interesting that. So the person that helps you walk, you can walk on, not in a good way. I love the way you do it. I think you should back down now. I think that's awesome. Boundary setting, right? Okay, let's stop. Good. Now if you took it to your other areas of your life, so that's another. Now do you mind that I use your name, because I didn't mean to do that? Because it's on film and we're going to let people see it all over the world. With you. We're going to do a nude spread on your foot. This is Regina's foot. It becomes famous. 1 million hits. Men are asking for dates from all over the world because of her feet. It's a miracle you're walking, and it's good to see you here. And yes, boundaries. You, of all people on earth, that's why here's going to be a boundary queen. And you're a soft little panda bear when it comes to facing people. And you let them just force feed you eucalyptus leaves. Here, take these, take these. And set no boundaries whatsoever. Have you noticed that?
Sort of.
Sort of? That's close, that's good. It's almost a yes. And now, right, in metamorphosis, you are starting to recognize that and be firm. I'm pushing your shy buttons too, you know that.
Well, I have a history of being firm with people.
Yes, where?
Everywhere, really.
Really? And yet, at the workplace where you need to be the firmest. Why? And this is for a reason I'm asking you. So where you really need to apply it is people around you at work. Your workmates, right? I'm going to tell you why. Fear of conflict. What do you think of that? It's interesting in boundary setting. James, you learned that lesson.
Starting to learn that lesson.
Fear of conflict. Let's see, where did we learn that? Oh, yeah, I've totally gone off topic.
No, you're fine, don't worry about it. You're
But
totally
once in
on.
a while, I'll look down at this and pretend I'm using it.
You're on
It looks
topic.
really good on, am I?
Yep.
I think it totally relates.
Oh, I am. That was lucky. Good, yeah. What were you saying?
Huh?
Someone said something I can relate or something.
Oh, I said it totally does, but it totally relates.
Yes, it does. Very much. Fear of conflict is a major sayer in our business. I finally figured out just now. When you think about the root of all the family patterns that people carry, they all involve a lot of conflict
And trying to avoid it.
or trying to avoid it. My God, there you go. We've got our whole thesis. You definitely don't like conflict, no. So if I was to ask people, where did you learn your fear of conflict? Parents going out into full-out brawls. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Full-out brawls in their wonder years in marriage. Yes, conflict. To my brother sticking darts in my head when he's angry and throwing one of his rage fits. Yeah, that was pretty well conflict there. I learned a healthy fear of conflict from those events. Let's go around the room and find out where we learned our conflict. How about you, Sam?
Probably from my mother.
Why? By the way, that was one of the best uncomfortable laughs I've heard today. That was really good.
Probably being super passive. So I became super passive.
Right, so it's interesting. So even behavioral traits that don't promote conflict can create a fear of conflict. Because you watch and go, oh my God, it's so damn crazy. I don't want to get involved in that. Oh my God, I'm involved, what do I do? Oh my God, I know that person is causing the conflict, I'll just smile. Conflict, enemy.
Conflict I learned from my mom and dad
Sure.
loudly expressing.
Yeah, your parents are the
Themselves.
coolest people basically on earth.
They're pretty good, very cool. Very
I mean, like, holy cool.
Mm.
Like, your dad's a king of cool. To talk to him on just as a professional or just as a rogue element. He's pretty
Like a
radical.
proton.
Yeah, he's just floating through in space.
Yeah.
He's pretty solid in his floating and his sense of humor. And then your mother, who not only danced and sang for me one day for some reason I can't explain, which was pretty cool. But sense of humor and highly intelligent, both of them.
Yeah.
Yet, the boundaries,
Very hard to hold boundaries.
oh my God, and the conflict.
Lots of conflicts. Or not lots, I shouldn't say lots, just
Yes.
all of a sudden very big.
Volatile.
Volatile conflict.
Okay, so now we're in fear of any kind of relations. Where did you go? You're gone.
Oh my God.
Oh, I felt you just go drifting. You were with Captain Kirk on a beach in some Martian island. Where the hell did you go? Oh yeah, I read
What she's
everybody.
saying, I'm thinking that.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
Where my boundaries too.
I just crossed them, didn't I?
That's okay.
Oh, you're good. So why is it okay?
It didn't bother me.
Ah, okay. So there's. I want someone to have a pen and a piece of paper. Who does?
Jessica does.
Number one, it didn't bother me. That's a good reason to not have to set a boundary. So then that's a reason to set a boundary if it bothers you. I'm going to probably do this through the talk. We'll try and see if we can make a list of what
Just that it didn't
what
bother me, that's all you want down?
that's all it takes.